Sanjin Chon Dain Sojin Chon Naim Lain Chang Join But Danin Jab Suin Jin Da Gin Jin San Jibe San Naim Jin Do Laim Pen Sanjin Du Brai Shui Sanjin Chon Dain Sojin Chon Naim Lain Chang Join But Doin Danin Jab Suin Dagyen Jin Soen Jibe Sonam Jin Do Laim Pinchre Sanjin Do Brai Shui Sanjin Chon Sojin Chon Naim Lain Chang Join Bardoin Danin Jab Soi Jin Dagyen Jin Soen Jibe Sonam Sanjin Do Brai Shui Simjan Damjen Dewan Dan Dewen Judan Dembrain Jurjen Dungan Dan Dungen Gen Judan Daurain Dungen Meben Dewan Damban Dan Mindo Warin Jurjen Yeren Chadan Yidan Dewe Danyum Chembola Nebrain Juroin Simjan Dam Dewan Dan Dewen Judan Dembrain Jurjen Dungan Dan Dungen Gen Judan Daurain Dunga Meben Dewan Tamban Dan Minda Wain Juje Nirin Chadan Nidan Dawe Danyum Chembola Nebrain Juroin Simjan Damjen Dembrain Jurjen Dunga Dan Dungel Gen Judan Daurain Jujen Dunga Meben Dewan Tamban Dan Minda Wain Chadan Nidan Dawe Danyum Chembola Nebrain Juroin Chazo Wadan Chujin Shaban Dan Jiso Yiran Kushin So Gyalwa Jungsen Dagin Jisaban Tamjen Zobe Janjo Jembo Sashi Bujun Jukshen Medo Jam Prirab Lingshe Nide Jim Sanje Shindo Midem Pulwayen Drogen Namda Shinda Chubarai Shu Simje Namge Samban Dan Loye Jeda Jida Chujon Temoen Tekbayin Chuje Korlo Korondo So
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you are well. The weather has been kind, I think. Yeah, yes. It's as pleasant as it can be. Such luxury. Yeah. And then for this, I suppose there is streaming. Yes? Huh? There is? Uh-huh. So I have to watch out what I say. So, to all the viewers, I greet you, I welcome you. Many of you must be taking great efforts to attend this streaming, and so for that I very much appreciate. Yet at the same time, I hope that you are able to view this in a much more comfortable way, without falling into any of the two extremes. On one hand, thinking that this is it, you know. Yet on the other hand, not too nonchalant, so that it's just a background music, you know. So I hope you have that kind of comfort. It's possible that many of you don't have such luxuries, And so therefore for that I very much appreciate to take the time to view these streaming. It is a great technology. I completely understand that. Yet at the same time, such tools can create lots of ideas, mainly to take things for granted in terms of what can be experienced directly, you know. For example, there are a lot of mukbang shows. Yes, great companion, you know. But nevertheless, simply on that fact, can one really smell the food, you know? Can one really taste the food, you know? Of course, we all know that we cannot. We can only imagine, you know, depending on how good the commentary is, you know. And so therefore there is something missing, you know. And so therefore all I'm saying is that that's something to be aware, especially when it comes to I suppose attending a lecture, probably it's more or less the same. But otherwise, when it comes to practice, actual practice, then there is beauty in engaging into the practice directly from one person to another. Yeah, that's there. So I'm not saying streaming or such tools are not useful or it has faults or anything. Yet at the same time, it's important to be aware of what are the limitations. Yes. History-wise, of course, it shows that it proves time and time again how noble this land is, you know, how noble this existence is in general, and particularly to be able to spend some time and to be able to walk, to be able to breathe the same air that long ago many great practitioners have walked on, breathed in, and after great many cycles of, I don't know, time, I could say, or years or decades and centuries, we are still able to be here. Yes. That's where we are, and so therefore, of course, maybe we can be proud of ourselves that we have come to this chapter, the 8th chapter. But it's just a figure of speech to feel. I think if we read enough, we can almost feel that what he was trying to say through these so-called chapters that he was able to repeat over and over again of basically the nature of our life, which is, as I said yesterday, it's always changing, it's always transient, yet sort of trying to catch our attention by saying, now we have arrived at this chapter and that chapter. For example, now it is said by many scholars that the 8th chapter and the 9th chapter are the most important chapters, And so often most scholars would bypass the previous 7 chapters, use the previous chapters for pujas, for rituals, and then directly jump into the 8th and most importantly the 9th chapter, And that kind of says something, yes? That's kind of a reflection of most of our mood, most of how we think, yes? That we want to say, yes, 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 but what is the point, Yes, I want to get to the main focus, and so please fast forward, What is Mahamudra? What is Dhammakaya, and so on, And so therefore, it kind of shows that, through implication, yet at the same time it's not too personal, yet I said intimate because he's developing it, developing or displaying, expressing what we normally go through when we are in this human pattern, how we are kind of, not to say frustrated, but we're on a hurry, And so therefore, to be able to arrive at this chapter, actually the previous chapters basically, if you haven't paid enough attention, then we will really feel we are entering a very alienated zone, foreign zone. And so therefore we will feel like we need to take hold of many unknown territories, uncharted territories, and establish our right there, and so on. Yes. Whereas if we begin from the first chapter, even just as just to read the root text, if the commentary is too much, then just to read the root text has immense benefit. Not just to mention in terms of benefit, how much merit we can accumulate, how much wisdom we can accumulate. There is practical benefit in terms of why we are here, Because we say listening, atöpa, samba, as in contemplation or reflection, and then finally the juiciest part of all, meditation. Yes, and so therefore it's I lost my train of thought as I was saying meditation, because that's where we are all stuck, you know. Yet at the same time, no, I lost the train of my thought. Bypass. Yeah, somewhere there. Yeah. Yeah. If you only had a few extra minutes, it will come back. No, there is no extra minutes. Yes. And so we have to power through. Yes, thank you, but no, it's not coming. It's completely derailed. Anyway, where? Oh yes, Tösam Gomsum, that's it, yes. So, nope, it's not coming, no. Listening, listening, reflecting, and meditating, yes. There is something there. Oh yeah, yes. Somebody bring me a screen. Yes. Because the root text now, in most cases, it is still living in the Tibetan translation, and that's the closest, and that's the most closest in terms of close to us, as well as close to the original text. Then it is very true to read that, authentic to read that. And then, of course, we have many different interpretations of it in different languages, and so therefore we can read some of that. Chanju sembe jobolan jube na liu jeban samdin tembe liu nale de tara zundu jene ne yin tingin zinla sene nambra yime nyomon chewe thana ne ludan sene bemba nambra yingwa me jonga dewe njigden panja chen nambra topa yonsu tor chabe chirdan nyesola sebin jigden me bonde dewe ndada yombona keben de tara jabra ja shine rabdo dembe landong nyomon nambra jobra chejin thoman shine tsaja diyanan jigden chapa mele nungen drup mita sushi mita la yanda chabura cheba yu tinin serab tongda to dukban thoma yu manjo ma thona ne gamen jo ijan nyamjo minjo lam thonyang ngombara minjo ben hajin sepe duma njur semje namla chaje na yanda nyela kune do jowe semjan jibra je tamar nyangen dongo jo tela sembam bachi ki semde domen da wo takpa me ben zashi ji yungdong chojan jibra jo jidang kaba nyamjo ngebar ngendron donju de kamenyam betjina jibatem be chicha kichi chigen zanjulo yuzam jine dayan ju gawen de lan to jib sosoji ngora ka member mena toward member mena toward dajan penle dobajen teda ngana manina towe ngandron rowan ju tola thado nyamdan de malanga je tunade minyenjono kondroji namshi chile bemban to. So I read till the 13th verse. And now we have, of course, a lot of English translations. At the moment, at least for today or at this moment, I'm not reading them. So excuse me. But you will have it in your booklets, in your pages, on your phone. And so therefore, what I read was from the first verse until the 12th, yes. And so, as I always said, Shantideva, I think the beauty of Shantideva's literature is that he never made it his literature, that is, sound too philosophical, too academic. And so therefore, please let me live, let me overcome this bad year, And it's not about, so therefore it's not about survival, but instead it's saying, I'm beginning to understand something, and only through this lens called human lens I can see it. Whereas if I'm born in any other realms, then it's either non-participation or full participation, and so therefore I have no time to reflect, no time to appreciate. So in this sense, then I can, while I have this precious human lens, either microscopic or telescopic, and then I can appreciate. And so therefore it makes sense to live for another day. And so therefore then we cover the patience, or we begin to sort of, if not in actuality, at least in theory, we can feel that this is interesting. Yes. And then all of this has to happen if we have an interest, if we have a liking towards such thing. Yes. Without it, then it feels like a duty. Yes, from time to time we say, okay, take one for the team, and you did well, and so therefore, yes, I did well, but that's about it. Whereas in this case, there is no order, there is no command, it is flowing, from the very first place. Then it's possible that once we come to what is after, the learning, contemplation, meditation, as you said, the wisdom, the highest wisdom, would kind of make sense, like I didn't want to go into that direction, but nevertheless, when we say the fourth empowerment, yes, again it's a built up, yes, but actually there was no fourth empowerment, it was really a way to make us realize what the three previous empowerments were. But I'm not saying this so that you can ask about what are the four empowerments for and what they are. Okay? I'm just using that as a metaphor. So therefore, the beauty of preparing ourselves that way is so that then the ninth chapter doesn't become too complicated, in short, not difficult. It becomes very easy, because there was a preparation, there was a lead up, and the body, the mind is all poised in such a way that just as we all always wish that how I wish enlightenment was easy, in simple terms, exactly that wish would be fulfilled if we have paid enough attention at least even on a theoretical level. But in practice, if you have, then the wisdom chapter becomes beautiful, easy, And then, therefore, we can use such terms as reaching liberation here and now in this life, All that is possible. But to go through that, the lead up is very, very important. I often find that when I'm trying to meditate, let's say, yes, most of my daily practice revolves around the Vajrayana practice, actually. Yes. And so therefore the practice of Vajrayana is very dear to me. I began practicing on that probably as soon as I reached the age of 12. And I was introduced to it by one of my lay teachers, who was very dear to me, who was like a father figure to me. And I got, as the colloquial term, hooked onto it, let's say. Because and the way he was able to describe what it is like, because when you're young and small, you have all kinds of ideas. You have all kinds of ideas in a way that you're free-flowing, and there are no logics and rules. Yet at the same time, whatever you grew up with, you are a little bit fixated on that, But wherever you are fixated on, from there you draw all kinds of inspirations and say, I don't know, about magical worlds or unique universes, flying, this, that, and so on. Yes, and if you were sort of brought up a little bit in a mechanical way, then one would think accordingly, but still in a way that is very free-flowing, And so therefore, he introduced me to this practice of Vajrayana, and the one thing that I was very focused on was what is known as, some of you might know, is the meditation of the Vajra net, or the Vajra tent. It is supposed to be like a shield, a protective dome, iron dome. And so therefore, it is supposed to sort of protect you from it. And of course, that's the only way to talk about all, there are obstacles of the body, speech, mind, and so on and so forth. And so therefore, as a young practitioner, it is very customary to begin one's meditative practice with the Vajrayana. And so therefore he was introducing me, step by step, as we would to any other students. And then from there, I think he was able to see what is intriguing me, and that's a sign of a good teacher, yes, because you have to know what is intriguing, while telling a story, what is your interest. And so in that moment it was about the so-called protective dome or shield or wheel, In that moment I had a very simple idea, about how it looks, how it works, in a very mechanical way, The heart syllable, the seat of the heart syllable, it is supposed to be an eight-spoked wheel with a rim, periphery or something. That is supposed to represent peaceful activity, or something like that. And then you have also those, and in this case, the protective wheel, often it is described, it doesn't really matter how many spokes are there, but without the rim, the outer rim, And so basically it's like a porcupine, 360-degree porcupine sort of thing. And therefore, then he was trying to describe that, while the only logical term that we have is a tent, we say kur, or in Mongolian they say gir, yes. And so therefore, that kind of was to me a bit disturbing for some reason, Like any practitioners, we would have such, we feel that's not logical, that's not practical. Why? Because when I was 11, when I was arriving in India for the first time on the plane, some friends introduced me for the first time about the spherical versions of, globes, planets and stars and so on. And so therefore, to me, that was the most fascinating thing to read, fascinating imageries to have, because till then, yes, till that age, I was very used to thinking, as any of my contemporary at the time, living in Tibet, to think that everything is flat, it's a pizza, and then it's natural to have a plastic dome on top, or a net to keep the flies away, the great obstacles, But then, as I was introduced to that, then I was thinking, no, it doesn't make sense. It's not a pizza, And so therefore, then we started to have more and more dialogues, And that's the beauty of it, yes. You strike a conversation, yes. Does it lead to anywhere? Nowhere, But you enjoy, yes. It's part of the enjoyment for the so-called teacher, yes, to be able to converse with so-called a student, or in this case, a child, But really get involved, because from the teacher's point of view, it feels like now the student is onto something, and so therefore they feel natural to teach. It's not just a duty to teach, but they feel that now there is something I can make it worthwhile. And from the student or from that child's point of view, you also feel that there is somebody listening to me. None of these adults are listening to me. Yes, and so for the first time, one of them is listening to me. Yes, and so therefore, it makes that moment enjoyable. There's a communication. And so it has nothing to do with the porcupine or the 10-spoked wheel or anything. No need to avoid. No need to avoid. That's the beauty of it. If that question is there, great, if anything, if you need to save anything, probably it's that sort of curiosity, but at the same time there is no end goal, in terms of a final destination, let's say. But if you can keep that interest piqued constantly, and to pique that interest, often the logical thing is to say, let's have more masala, more spice, more color, let's contrast the hero and the villain more and more. But that gets stale very, very fast. Instead, it's the most subtle ones, It's the ones that we don't talk about, It's the dirty dishes in the sink, the real evil. And so therefore, then but we have to sort of make, the art of making dirty dishes villainous, and talk about it leads all the way to the destruction of enlightenment. And that because sometimes they say, dental hygiene is so important, and if you take care of it, it leads to great, it leads to brain health, heart health. I'm like, no, come on, That's a little too far. Of course, we can, connect the dots by saying, okay, then the gut flow is good, therefore it's for the heart, and we can explain things, And so, in a similar way, if we can pique our interest, yes, if we have the curiosity that we feel it's not enough, I want more answers, that's not a problem at all. It's good. And of course, I said in the beginning that if you need to save it, But it's not a case where we need to save it also. This curiosity will always be there. This time round, how will I save the day? How will I save a fellow being or something, Because every time is different. It's never the same. Very similar ones, yes. Underlying similar conditions are there, yes. But it's never the same pattern. Okay. Yes, that's it. I think the first seal, yes. Because at the end of the day, it's of course there is no real hero or villain, of course, yes. It is describing the preparatory phase in a way, yes. This we also have to factor in, yes. Because often we get, like I said, we feel a little too personal also in this sense, If you don't realize that if you want to cook something, we need a pan, or we need a pot, or we need some of the most basic ingredients or components, yes. Without it, to say, okay, dive straight into Mahamudra, because it sounds like that when we hear certain, Mahasiddha like Shantideva himself, yes, when we hear of their life stories, the magical aspect of it, the legendary aspect of it, then we feel that, looks like one could bypass, or at least it makes us think of the idea bypass, Not that there was such a thing called bypassing, And so then we kind of dilute and disrespect the idea of having natural and easy enlightenment. Yeah. It's easy because we are focused, because we are more aware, more and more. As we become more and more aware, then it becomes more natural, more easy, and we become more accepting of the basic preparation, particularly for us as beginners. And so therefore, it sounds like saying, go to a cave or go to the jungle. I mean, when we read more and more, and be an introvert, it's good to be a nerd, and basically validating having become an IT or something. But of course, that's not the point. It's not literal, of course. Yes, as part of the ingredient, we have to respect that. Yes, it's not, as I said, a lecture to say now you must get on the program. It's not. He's just stating that. Do you really like it? Do you really like the ways of the Bodhisattva? I'm not telling you to become a Bodhisattva. I find it fascinating. That's what he's saying. Yes, and so I wrote this for myself. I composed this for myself. I'm thinking of this for myself. I'm not writing this for you. And so, therefore, I'm not putting any pressure on you. Yes. Yet, I didn't find in any of the aspect of acquiring the ingredients, acquiring the conditions, a real challenge like we normally thought. That's what he's saying. Yes. Because normally think, my goodness, that's one thing I just cannot do. Yes. Avoid relationships, avoid being a friend, avoid this, that. It felt like a challenge, yes. It felt almost to a point as if it's the wrong thing to do, yes. But then again, Shantideva comes in and says, don't judge that fast, see for yourself if you're using that as an excuse. It's possible, because at the end of the day, I don't tell others, but to you I can say, but actually I have some sort of attachment, because without it then I feel lonely. I feel that I'm an alien to this world, to this society. And so therefore, and then Shantideva is saying, don't be hasty, in short, take your time. Yes, I know life is impermanent, but nevertheless, this is one case where you can, forgo or forget, or don't need to worry about the impermanence of life, In fact, it's complementary to it. If you take some time, it's really worthwhile, yes. Of course, for each of us as individuals, as each fingers, then we can tell ourselves the same thing differently, that it's good for health, In fact, it will help our relationships as family, as friends, as peers, and so on. And physically, it's also healthy. It will bring down your blood pressure and so on, whichever way. Yeah. But the point of it is basically saying it's quite all right, because at the end of the day, from the moment we were born, we were born alone, you know. Of course, that's just a figure of speech, yes, figure of speech, you know. If we try to validate the idea of loneliness, you know, then it's saying, so what, because you were born alone, only in that sense, yes. And so therefore, similarly, you will also die alone, you know. If you think your living is lonely, your birth and death is alone, you know. It's just oneself, nothing more. And so therefore, one problem solved, you know. So likewise, then verse by verse, he's going along with you. And it's not trying to be a shrink, you know, and say, tell me your past, and I will figure out for you, you know. It's more like he's talking to himself, you know, and then you happen to be passing along, and you found it most intriguing, and every day you wanted to go by that corner to that, what do you call a person who's talking to himself? Huh? So, yes. So, crazy person, yes, that's it. Yes, Milarepa was known as the crazy person, yes, because he said when people see him as crazy, but when he looks at the world is crazy, yes. And so therefore, yes, we are good at using logic, but then we don't want to complete the logic, you know, at the end of the day. And so what Shantideva is saying is complete it, you know. Then you will have something wholesome, yes. And then if it's comedy we want, then it's humorous, you know. It's wonderful material, you know. It's not personal, you know. It's intimate, yeah. Very, very close. Yeah. Right. So then, to the tongue. So, yes, so forgive me for today, for not going through verse by verse, you know, but from tomorrow I will try to do that, yes. So today, just roughly we came all the way towards the 22nd verse. Yes. And so therefore today we will pause it here, and I hope you have good bladders. So therefore I often think of myself as a camel, so I'm fine. No, I sweat a lot, and so therefore, that's how I manage, you know.